Hi folks, it's Newt Warren, an assistant here at IE Gallery in Edison, Washington, with another walkthrough video of our current show. Today I will be sharing with you briefly some of the prints that we've got in this show featuring work by Thomas Wood. The show is entitled Bugs in a Bowl. That is a title shared by a poem that Tom once gave to Margie, the gallerist, that he thought might enlighten her to his worldview. If you'd like to read that poem, we do have it posted in the gallery and it's also on our website, so you can take a look. And today I'll just be briefly showing you around the gallery and speaking a little bit about the artist Tom and his method of making work. He spent his whole life creating art. He spent some time in Florence studying and teaching there. And he spent much of his time here in the Skagit Valley and in Bellingham, where he called home for the last decades of his life. Tom unfortunately passed away in 2022. So if you were lucky enough to have been able to meet him, you understand just how magical it is to see all of his works together. This show, our show, Bugs in a Bowl, runs through the end of January. And it is concurrent with the Whatcom Museum show of his work entitled Under the Inspiration Tree. That show is a retrospective of about 300 pieces of work, and they also have Tom's printing press in the museum. So if you have the opportunity, I believe that show is up till early March, and if you are a fan of his work or just becoming familiar with him, that is a great place to start. This print here is the namesake of the Whatcom show, Under the Inspiration Tree. And pardon the glare, all of these pieces are framed, but you can see just how detailed each of his prints are. Every time I take a second to review new prints or to compare certain editions, I notice new things every time. This is one of our favorites. It's titled Jesus Preaching to the Dinosaurs. And this particular shade of pink was dubbed by Tom Dinosaur Pink. We'll keep walking through here. We've got a select few prints up for the show, but Tom was a prolific artist and created work all the time, whether it be printmaking, something that he started doing early on in his artistic career, or paintings that he would have done plein air with artist friends, out camping or on the islands. He sailed often with his wife Pam. He was heavily inspired by the Pacific Northwest as a region, specifically Skagit Valley and Bellingham. And you can see those elements of Northwestness in each of his works. We represent, of course, Pacific Northwest artists local to this area or to Seattle, and all of them share this common thread, this reverence for the area, as well as a hint of mystery regarding our place in the world and our place in this landscape that we live in. That relationship between man and the natural world, our connection to it rather than our separation from it, is a theme that Tom often explored, as well as evolution, and I would even say magic. Many of the prints in this show are prints that we don't normally have in the gallery, so they're quite a treat to be able to spend some time with. Hi there, again, pardon the glare. These are much more visible in person. For most of the framed prints that we have, if you notice any red dots, they are sold, but But for many of the prints that we have in this show, there are other editions available, and we are always in stock with Thomas Wood prints. So you are welcome to take a look at our collection at any time in the gallery, but of course we would love for you to see this show. We'll come around here. This cradle is where we have a lot of Tom's work, as well as our flat files over here, which, as always, folks are welcome to go through with assistance. Most of his prints, if not all of them, were done as etchings in copper plates. The plates are then inked. You set a sheet of paper over the plate, and then you roll the whole thing through a printing press. And although they are prints, most of his editions are of 100 or less. There's quite a bit of variation between each print, especially the ones that are hand tinted afterwards. So it's always fun to compare editions if given the opportunity. This piece here in the middle is from the Trilobite series that Thomas Wood did with Mandy Turner, who was his assistant and apprentice friend. She's an incredible person that if you're familiar with Tom, you're also familiar with Mandy. This piece was a collaboration between the two of them, as well as the other Trilobites in the series. And the glare is really not doing us many favors, but this series was really a series of experiments with an image that Tom used often, but using different medium to produce the textural and tonal effects that you see in each of these pieces. So all of the Trilobites from this series are monoprints, meaning that they are all entirely unique. And we do have more of these in the gallery if you are interested. And then lastly, we'll take a quick look at one of his paintings. I mentioned earlier that he painted plein air, which means to paint out in the open, outside. He often did that with artist friends, sometimes in the rain or in the dark, to really become one with the area that he was painting in. We're lucky enough to be able to have one of his paintings in the show. He didn't paint very much, at least not paintings for sale, towards the latter half of his life as he was focusing on printmaking, thus giving us all of the prints that we have. And then just as a treat, here is one of those plates, if you're not really familiar with what that might look like. This is a plate from that Trilobite series. It's not the same as the plate that would have been used to create that piece that we were just viewing, but it is a great example of the printmaking process. And here is a smaller one. We'll try to get a good look at it here. And there you are. There is our very brief overview of this show. Each of these pieces are so incredibly detailed, to an extent that I find hard to comprehend. If you're interested in printmaking or are just beginning to become familiar with printmaking, Thomas Wood is an incredible artist to reference, and you can find more resources about printmaking at the Wacom Museum show, as they have, like I said earlier, his printing press there in the museum. They've kind of recreated a bit of his studio in there, and we would have to double check the dates, but Mandy Turner, the artist I mentioned earlier, has been giving lessons or brief lessons to folks who are interested at the museum. So we have lots of places for you to view and enjoy and learn about Thomas Wood's artwork, his life, and the profound effect that he's had on the local community, not just of artists, but of everybody that he was able to interact with. So Thank you so much for joining us on our walkthrough today. We hope to see you in the gallery soon. And hopefully you'll be able to check out that retrospective as well. Have a good holiday season, and we're looking forward to seeing you all in 2025.